Okay, I want to welcome you all to the People's Response Emergency Grassroots Meeting to address the crisis of the public schools and its opening. My name, did I say that? My name is Raul Contreras. I've been with the People's Response since the very beginning, also affiliated with Medita Neighbors. I just want to lay out a few instructions about how we're going to do the meeting. We're asking everyone to keep themselves mute or yourself, just to keep out background noise until you're called upon to unmute yourself. We're asking people to hold their questions until the end of the entire panel, after the last panelist has concluded, and we'll let you know when that's happening. We also want to inform you that we're recording this panel, our venture today, tonight, and eventually be streamed. I want to start by bringing in Lynette Sims, who's a co-founder and a co-chairman of Black Women's Organizing for Power here in Chicago. She's going to spend a few minutes explaining to people, there's some new folks here, just who People's Response is and what we've been doing. Lynette?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Contreras. The People's Response Network was founded at the very beginning of the pandemic, February of 2020. Last year, due to the failure in the response from the Trump administration. But it wasn't just due to Donald Trump's administration. It was a failure on all branches of government that the people had to experience and are still experiencing today. Our grassroots coalition consists of 28 community organizations, unions, and aldermen. And our ultimate mission is to rebuild public health infrastructure. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lynette. We're going to begin by asking 25th Ward Alderman Byron Cicho Lopez to talk to you all and explain the purpose and goals of this panel and what we're doing here tonight. Byron?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me okay? I know I'm just leaving the train. I don't know if you can hear me okay.
We hear you.
So thank you again, and thank you to the People's Response Network and all the community groups, parents, educators, and community at large, who are, and we all should be concerned about the state of our school district in the middle of a pandemic. So just I wanted to let you know that we are working with other legislators, especially Alderwoman Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez, Maria Haddon, and others, to call for a hearing on the education committee so that we can get directly from the Chicago Public Schools a full account on the tracing, testing, vaccination efforts, and other basic precautions that we need to have in our schools, especially given the fact that children under 12 years old still are not eligible to be vaccinated. We have a really low number of students 12 to 18 years old, especially in Black and Brown communities, where we have a very low vaccination rate, which means that a lot of our communities are at risk, and our vaccination rates show a huge disparity between affluent areas where we have vaccination rates between 70 and close to 80%, while we have other communities where vaccination rates are below 50%. So again, we have a huge disparities in our communities. And when we have children who go back to school, when we have communities who are vulnerable to the spread of the pandemic, we need to make sure that we take all precautions. We have seen the results of not taking precautions. We have seen the results of lack of accountability with Chicago Public Schools. In Jensen Elementary on the west side, we have already 2 mothers who were victims of the pandemic, who, according to some preliminary reports, gotten sick from the spread on Jensen Elementary, where 10 out of 17 classrooms were in quarantine for several weeks. But again, we're still waiting for a full-time nurse in some of these same schools. We need to make sure that we have full-time nurses. We got to make sure that we have full-time social workers to address the trauma and disparities that we have in our communities. But yet we still yet to hear from the Chicago Public Schools. In fact, from the new CEO of Chicago Public Schools, we even heard statements like, well, we wish that we have what districts like the San Antonio district where he comes from has. But given the fact that we are receiving almost $2 billion for Chicago Public Schools, given the fact that the city of Chicago is receiving additional $2 billion with a B in federal funding efforts, we think is unacceptable that we have this level of exposure, risk, and death in our communities have been already devastated by the pandemic. So I think that right now, what we need is a call of action so that we have accountability by the Chicago Public Schools, by the mayor of the city of Chicago, and we need to make sure that we activate our educators, parents, students, and community at large to demand accountability, investment, and relief for our communities. So it is not only a call for the Chicago Public Schools to take action, but the city of Chicago. Again, we're hopeful, but again, not optimistic that we're even going to get a hearing for the Chicago Public Schools to give checks and balances to legislators. Needless to say that we expect very little to none accountability in each school. So we need your participation, your action, and your involvement, not only to demand Chicago Public Schools to take action to save the lives of children and families, but also from the mayor of the city of Chicago to make sure that in the budget, we revamp the Chicago Department of Public Health to ensure that we have policies that look after the public good, the public health, and not the pockets of special interest groups. Thank you again, and look forward to keep working together with all of you to make this possible.
Thank you very much, Alderman Lopez. We're going to begin our panel. Our first speaker is going to be Wilma Pittman. She's a local school council vice president. She's also a Chicago Public Schools grandmother, and she's going to be here talking to us about the crisis in the education.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wilma Pittman. Today, I'm kind of sad what I have to say about the way CPS was opened up. And the way it was opened up, it should be a crime. It really should be a crime to put our babies through this. Safe return or no return. I think they should have had enough respect for the parents and the students to allow them to make a choice to have remote learning. Because when we was having remote learning, not only just remote learning, but remote learning that's working. Everyone that come into the school, I think, should have a vaccine. I don't think they should be allowed to work with our babies. We should still have 6 feet distance. Why 3 feet? We have grocery stores that are still doing 6. We have companies that have not opened. We have the city and the county workers that's still working from home because they cannot figure out how to bring adults back to work safely. But you take our children and you put them in the school, and that's just it. No temperature check, no social distance. I talked with some children and they were saying they want to be at school, but they don't want COVID. They say, I don't want COVID. And that's weighing hard on me because I had a friend that passed from COVID early last year. I also had a godbaby that had COVID this year. And it's not right. But just to think of the 2 babies over at Jensen who mom passed, how they feel. They want to be in school, but because they are in school, this happened. Our babies were safe at home. And I think CPS should be held accountable for keeping them safe at school. Safe return, no return. It's just not right that our babies are, have to endure this. So I would say, we need to do an action. Safe return, no return. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Wilma. Our next panelist presentation is going to be by Dulce Garduño. She's a Chicago Public Schools parent of a student. She's a former a former local school council member, and she's also a participant member and leadership within Pilsen Alliance. Dulce.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dulce Garduño, and I have a blender family. I am a mother of teenager who, like everyone else, has been isolated for the last 16 months. We've been working from home and doing my daily activities. Was hard. Today, I'm here like member of community to push if we need to pull the elect officials to make the law to be clear and commitment to doing their job. In the last month, my son went back to the school and he's so very happy, very, very happy. We received the vaccine in the first month for him. And I know that many students cannot get the vaccine for different reasons. It's why this school should be open as vaccinated centers, have full-time nurse and counselors. The federal funds should be really to be allocated in qualified counselors to defect abuse of any kind, depression, anxiety, or any mental problem at the early age to help the child and his families in the process to recovery or adjustment. The pandemic has left children's orphans by father or any, in some case, both. Parents in process of divorce or separation. That is why school should be a sanctuary for all the children in the city, immigrants, refugees, and we will back taking care of them. What about evictions? Many people are at risk of being thrown. Right now, we have 2 or more families living in the same apartment. Some others are really under the bridge. Sanctuary schools for children is the only place they receive food security. We are in the time to act to protect to our future doctors, nurses, engineers. Chicago have a very cold climate. I call to the authorities. Our children are the ones who will give life to this country. And we are all on the way to diversity. Let's not allow to that diversity to be damaged. Let's show that these calamities are leaving us strong communities. We don't need water parks or spend $1 million in museums right now if we don't have strong communities. I'm very proud to live in this city as diversity as this one, to have diversity family and continue repeating the diversity and inclusion between the People Response Network and Pilsen Alliance. Each one from our trench, we must fight to be accountable community. Unite, we are more strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Dulce. Our next member on our panel presents a very special perspective, the perspective of a student. Antonio Breed is going to be here to give us a student view about what's happening in our public schools. Antonio.
Thank you, Raul. Hello, everybody here this evening. My name is Antonio Breed. Currently, I'm a student in 6th grade at CPS, or Chicago Public Schools, or whatever you want to call it. More specifically, I am at National Teachers Academy, right next to Chinatown. For the better part of 2 years, we were all stuck in a pandemic, and it is surprising to me to see such an unsafe and overall preventable return to school plan. It should be treated with the same level of respect and care as the pandemic was. However, that was far from the case. During the first day of class, a child in my homeroom was discovered to have COVID-19. And on Wednesday, we were all doing school at home. Not to mention what it was like during a class day. We were all in overcrowded rooms, never social distancing, along with having to switch 3 classrooms as mandatory for 5th grade to 8th grade students. They were also not clean between periods. It is not the best place to learn. That is not the best place to learn and work with the ever looming threat of getting the virus and giving it to my family. Along with keeping in mind a good majority of the student body, currently including me, cannot get the vaccine. It's, in my opinion, personally reckless to send this many unvaccinated kids into a building. It is also disheartening to know 2 people that I haven't even met once in my life sit in the same seats as me, who I do not know where they come from. They could have been exposed to the virus. It's just adding extra risk to a situation that does not need more risk than it already has. It is displeasing to me knowing the amount of problems with the average school day right now, and it's gonna keep getting worse if we don't prevent it. 5 classes in my school today were quarantined. Schools reopening up for students with this level of care, along with about a year of available prep time, is absolutely insulting. They bet on something so unsafe and unplanned for. It has resulted in deaths and many COVID cases throughout the CPS system. At Jensen's Glass Academy, 2 mothers lost their lives to the virus. Children, because of a lack of care, do not have mothers anymore. It is absolutely terrifying and scary knowing that people are now dying because of this. And yet, schools aren't shutting down. And still, the proper safety measures need to be in schools now, not in the future, not ever. It needs to happen now. To me, 1 death is way too many in this pandemic of unvaccinated children in buildings and overcrowding school places. They have not lowered the risk of getting COVID-19 inside buildings like my school. Seeing things like a heavy lack of contact tracers does not help anything. My call to action is to allow a remote option for all students that feel unsafe and most of the student body that is unvaccinated.
30 seconds,
So they have,
Antonio.
okay, so they have the ability to get vaccinated and come back when they do. In my eyes, this is a great way to prevent deaths and more unnecessary cases.
Thanks a lot, Antonio. In many ways, you're the most important perspective we got to hear here. We're going to move on to Bridget White, a Chicago public school parent. She's a former member of the Parents Advisory Council as well. Bridget White.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bridget White, and I'm speaking on behalf of my 2 children who are CPS students. I want to start off by asking why. Why didn't CPS nor Mayor Lightfoot put better safety measures in place before our kids started back to school? Why not offer remote learning? CPS and the mayor went on a media campaign stating about the trust, the science, and how safe it is to return back inside of the schools. They made it seem like they did all these upgrades, which a lot wasn't done. Our children returned back to rooms, windows that don't open. They returned back to overcrowded classrooms, which makes it damn near impossible to social distance. They returned with bathrooms that doesn't have running water. On top of that, the bathrooms are disgusting and there's no soap in the bathrooms. How is this following the science when this is what's needed in order to be able to wash your hands? Why is CPS not following the science in the midst of a pandemic? I get it. Some of CPS staff, kids are probably at private schools, so it doesn't matter to them. but damn it, it matters to us. CPS had protocols before school returned, yet they removed them. Despite children are the ones leading with COVID rates. CPS and the mayor are rolling the dice with our children. CPS sent an email stating that they were going to at least do testing. But again, because of the CPS way, there was no information provided, just a link of signing up if you're interested. Everybody at this point should be tested. 2 CPS mothers, as the alderman mentioned earlier, died, who were parents of students at Jensen Elementary. And my condolences goes to those families and that staff. Do we know for certain that it was due to the students bringing it home? No. But do we not know that it wasn't that? CPS, did they provide counselors to those students due to their trauma? Or did they even shut the school down to do a deep cleaning of it, which is unacceptable? LA has done testing for 2 weeks before they allowed their children back into schools. They were able to prevent 3,000 children from spreading COVID and by being proactive. The LA school system is almost double the size of CPS. So therefore, there's no excuse why CPS can't do that. CPS, if they did that, those students, 2 students, their parents might be still here right now. CPS focuses on dollars and not safety. There were no protocols, there was no testing, there wasn't anything when our children went back. CPS received $1.8 billion in COVID relief funding. So where's that money at? And then why isn't it going to our children's safety? Aren't they worth the investment? Because we think so. CPS also, no.
Bridget, I don't want to stop you. You have 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. We also want everybody who's listening to our voices, teachers, parents, everybody. We want you to join us in a coalition to fight this systemic racism that has been going on. Our children are in 3 pandemics: COVID, violence, and their education. My demands today is for care and transparency. We want them to care to know the rates broken down across the networks. We want them to do deep cleaning when quarantines are high. We want remote learning offered to parents who want it. We want to have nurses and social workers inside of the school, especially during a pandemic. We want our children's emotional needs being met and a plan broken out by the networks, and especially in the violent areas that CPS ignores. And we want a website we want a page on their site listing the breakdown of what our needs are so we can track if they're doing what they're doing. Enough is enough. Our issues are solutions to problems that exist. Let's work together for those solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget White. Great presentation.